Thanks for joining us here on the first episode of No Brains Just Ball. My name's Jake. With me I've got Anthony, I've got Nick as well, and Dem. We're going to be talking all things NBA. Today we're going to be talking about the Western Conference and what's just happened over the last year. So we're going to do a review, stats from the year, where they can improve on, and things like that. So we'll get straight into it. So we're going to start with the Southwest Division, and we're going to start off with the San Antonio Spurs, which I'll leave to Anthony.
Yeah, so San Antonio once again made the playoffs, and now they've made consecutive playoffs for 20 straight years, which is actually an NBA record.
Yeah, that's
for the current record.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've also it's actually the longest streak in US professional sports history. So in baseball,
Wow. Yeah.
MLS, and NFL, they're all it's the Spurs at the top. So once again, they were led by Kawhi Leonard in points. He's 25 and a half a game this year, which is incredible for a mid-round, first-round pick. To think they got him for George Hill and a later pick is absolutely incredible. Gasol was a really handy addition for them last year. He was 7.8 rebounds per game. And Parker, who, as we all know, went down, unfortunately, in the playoffs, was their highest assists. However, they're really going to need to find a starting point guard going for next year. Mills re-signed for 4 years, so he'll be a handy
Do you think he'll
addition.
take the starting role off Tony Parker next year?
Look, Murray started a few playoff games and really looked to show that he's got a bit of potential. So knowing Pop, they might go with him. However, look, we all know what Spurs are like. They might just find some handy 35-year-old veteran and turn him into a gun from 10 years previous. So they're absolutely incredible with what they've been doing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them going into next year. However, they do have a couple of holes. One of them is definitely LaMarcus Aldridge. He's been putting up good numbers in the regular season. However, his style of play seems to clank too many jumpers in playoffs, doesn't defend well enough, and he really got exposed by the Warriors.
Well, they don't really have a lot of point-scoring options, really. Like, they've got Kawhi Leonard, they've got Aldridge, but who else do they really have scoring the ball?
Yeah, look, people do point to Jonathan Simmons. However, he was only at about 6 points a game last year.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
People do tend to overestimate his influence on the Spurs. Obviously, he's someone they're going to need to re-sign anyway. But they've got handy players like David Lee, who offered a few points a game, but he's not someone that's going to go out there and really take hold of the charge of the game.
Yeah,
and
no.
Obviously, Manu's now 39 years old, so whether he's going to be back next year is...
Yeah, so he announced
Well, it doesn't look like
his retirement. No?
I think he's going to wait until the Spurs are going to add whoever they can in this off-season, and then we'll see what they're going from there.
See if there's a bit of... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so... But they've been looking to trade Danny Green, I think, for a bit of cap space. There was a bit of talk earlier, especially around draft day, that they were going to talk to the Cavs about him, but it doesn't look like anything's come from that. So they really don't have too much flexibility during this July period to really add anyone of specific note. So they've really still got that hole at starting point guard this year. And even backing up Danny Green at shooting guard, Kyle Anderson does a decent enough job with the backup minutes for Kawhi Leonard. However, we're really going to have to see a little bit more from the Spurs reserves to really see them get over the Warriors, because even though they were up 19 halfway through game 1 against the Warriors, it's difficult to beat them 4 times with Kevin Durant, Danny Green.
We saw it in the playoffs this year. Yeah.
He's a good defender, can hit threes, but he's not going to be consistent over a 6-7 game series. So,
You could easily say that in the Western Conference Finals as well this year. It was just, they were a class above still, and it was the Western Conference Finals, so it was a bit ridiculous.
But the Southwest Division really this year is going to be incredibly strong now with Houston as well, adding Chris Paul.
Yeah. So, leading on from that, we'll go to the Rockets, and we'll introduce Nick.
Yeah, so we've got the Rockets, who came second in the West with 55 wins, 27 losses, losing to the San Antonio Spurs 4-2 in the conference semis. James Harden, clearly their all-star, with Gordon hitting threes and just using the three-ball game mainly as their big thing. Losing Lou Williams, but gaining Chris Paul in the offseason is going to be huge for them. They've also lost their second point guard in Pat Beverly. But I don't think
he was in that trade.
Yeah, he was in the trade for the CP3. Overall, Harden probably should have won season MVP because Westbrook couldn't hit anything to save his life. And that Rockets actually won a few games, making over 50 for the season.
Harden did have a lot more help though than Westbrook though.
Yeah, we'll get in that later, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Durant is no excuse to be losing games. You got Anderson shooting threes as well. You got Trevor Ariza. I think the Rockets were a bit short in the backcourt. In the front court, sorry. In the backcourt, they've obviously they're best with Harden. They picked up CP3. They're going to get better there.
Gordon was huge this year.
Yeah,
Sixth man of the
Gordon.
year.
So it's going to be interesting as well how they start playing with that. Do
Yeah.
they move Gordon to the 3? Who's going to ball handle?
Yeah.
Maybe Harden to be as good as he is. He needs to keep the ball in his hands. It'll be interesting to see how that works.
Well, yeah, one of the reasons that Chris Paul went over there was because he didn't want to handle the ball as much as he was. Like he likes the idea of being able to share the load with Harden, and it's one of the reasons why he didn't go to the Spurs as well. That he went straight to.
It is funny though how Eric Gordon was really one of the centerpieces of Chris Paul's trade originally to the Clippers, and now they've ended up together at the Rockets. So
Exactly.
It's really funny how it works out. And Aminu
Just comes back around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aminu as well. He was in that trade as well. So he's at Portland nowadays, and never really came to much. And then you consider what the Lakers offered with Gasol and that sort of stuff. And I think Dragic was involved in a 3-way deal. So
Yeah.
it's crazy how things change over a few years.
And I just think in their Western Conference semis against the Spurs, Harden just looked tired. He was just in that game 6. He was average. I think he shot terribly. He would have shot 30% from the field, and he was just average everywhere. Turnovers galore. Like I reckon 7-8 plus turnovers.
There was too many
in that game.
Yeah, and there was too many pull-up threes. I think.
Yeah, exactly right. Especially in a closeout game for the Spurs. Like, you want to be.
I think they became a bit happy with getting. I think this year in the NBA we really saw an increase in 3-point fouls, and really Lou Williams and James Harden were really one of the leaders in that category. So I think they were trying to rush shots, trying to get to the line a little bit more, and then in the end started taking bad shots. And the Spurs, being so well coached, just got over that line.
That's it. All right, we'll move on from the Houston Rockets, and we'll introduce Dem. He's going to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies and how they went this season.
Yeah, so Memphis keeps making playoffs, and they finished 7th this season with 43-39. And I guess that's all built around defence. Like, 3rd for points against with 100 points per game, so only 2 teams are better than that. But then they were second last points for, and that's because they've only got Conley and Gasol, who are the only 2 that really do anything for them. They've got Randolph off the bench. Don't know what's going to happen with him during the off-season. They're saying maybe he might move. There's a few teams interested, but they lost to Spurs, obviously, first round of the playoffs, and Conley was the only one that stood up in that time. He averaged 25 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, and it was really a class above, and he's the one that dragged them over the line. You see, Gasol plays as that guy that can get a triple-double potentially at that centre position, but then if you look at the minutes per game, you see JaMychal Green. He was 3rd for most minutes per game, and then 4th and 5th were Tony Allen and Vince Carter, who are obviously veterans, and their output's not really all that good. So there's a real issue with depth at Memphis. There's a real issue with the reliance on Conley, who obviously is the most highest paid in their team. So he's the one that has to drag them over the line. There's also the issue of Chandler Parsons, who $23 million next season he's going to be on, and he's coming off 20 minutes per game for 34 games, where he did nothing for the team. So there are a lot of holes. I guess interesting to hear what you guys think, but they'll probably struggle to make playoffs again with what they've got.
I think with Randolph leaving, it's going to be potentially leaving. It's going to be really difficult for them to find that sort of production off the bench unless Chandler Parsons gets back to what he was 2, 3, 4 seasons ago before he did his first knee injury.
Yeah.
I'm a big Chandler Parsons fan about what he can bring playmaking-wise from the small forward position, but he's just not been fit for long enough.
Yeah.
And Memphis took a massive gamble on him.
Huge.
The one that the Mavs didn't, and it's looking like a bit of a bust at the moment.
Yeah, especially with, his contract.
Yeah,
that's huge, and that doesn't give him much freedom to do anything. So
I think even when he was coming back towards the end of the season, he was only getting 6 minutes a game. They just weren't playing him. Doesn't matter if he was healthy.
Just a pure role player.
Yeah, they weren't interested in playing
He
him.
does seem someone who can't come back firing straight from an injury. He needs weeks or months to really get back into it. But when you've missed 60 games like that, he really doesn't have the opportunity to get back into it.
Yeah, exactly.
And his free throw shooting has been poor over the last couple of seasons. So hopefully he's working on that.
Memphis can't afford to have someone warming their way back into a season after an injury as well, especially with the dearth of talent. They haven't got anything.
So I think we would all agree that Memphis unlikely to make playoffs.
They'll fight for the last position with a few other teams.
Well, they got 7th this year, and it was
Sixth this year.
6th. Okay, it was 6th. Okay, but yeah, they're barely there anymore.
Yeah.
Like they're just about ready to get rid of everyone, I reckon, and just start again.
A real potential competitor for that 8th spot this year would be the Pelicans.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, they've got the big three. They've got the big two plus Holiday, who's,
Who just signed a massive deal.
Yeah, exactly. So, they were 34-48, finished 10th this season. And, there's something there. It's hard to put your finger on. Like, there's something. They got Davis and Cousins. And, Cousins
something there is Davis
and
Cousins.
Cousins looks like he's going to stay around and stay to see how they go. Davis played the most games of his career this season with 75. And that, that played a huge part in them getting to 34 wins. He averaged 28 and 12, 51% shooting. Like, he's one of the best players in the whole league. And then Cousins, in his 17 games, averaged 24 and 12 with 4 assists.
Not a bad acquisition.
Yeah, exactly. Just
for the steal that he was, especially. I mean, it's incredible about how Sacramento and Chicago just giving up their star players in Cousins and Butler.
Yeah.
But
absolutely
their
ridiculous.
loss is other teams' gain.
But again, like Memphis, they haven't got much else. I mean, there's Holiday, and obviously he signed $126 million over 5 years. That's the deal. So next year he's going to be the second highest paid with $21.7 million. But they haven't got anything off the bench, and they traded.
I was going to say.
Tim Frazier.
He
was there.
They traded him for
it was
the Wizards for the second round.
Yeah, it wasn't a good pick. So
they
had in the back end of the season Jordan Crawford, and he
looked all right.
He shot really well for them. Like, he averaged 23 minutes a game and averaged 14 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and he was shooting efficiently. I guess they're going to have to rely on him a bit at shooting guard position. He played in the Celtics. I was looking it up. His best season at Celtics, he averaged 14, 3 and 6 assists.
Yeah,
he's a decent shooter, but that's really all they have. Etuan Moore, he's not very good. Solomon Hill,
overpaid.
Yeah. So especially when you look at, and they've got Hill's on $12.2 million next year, and Omar Ashik's on $10.6 million.
Yeah.
So they've butchered it a bit, but they will be fighting for that last position.
They'll be in for those last couple of spots.
Holiday, Cousins, and Davis.
Yeah, exactly right. I think they're the only 3 that are going to drag them across the line. I don't think they've got any bench really. Like, they might have a good game here and there, but I reckon those 3 are going to have to do most of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Next season if they want to make the playoffs.
Which is entirely possible. They need Davis to stay injury free.
Again, and they got lucky this year with him not going down, and they still didn't make it. So,
exactly.
And I reckon Boogie he went over there because he thought last year they did have a chance if he went over there.
Yeah,
they never really had a massive run towards the end of the season.
They
never really connected.
No.
I think it'll be good to see they have an off season together.
Yeah.
They really start to get to know each other, and we start to see how they work together, see if they bounce off each other well. But Cousins has a temper. Davis is still a kid. That might sort of move into Davis's game a little bit potentially.
And Drew Holiday has been injury prone in the past. I know, like last year, he missed games more because of personal family issues.
At the start of the season, didn't he?
Yeah.
Rather than injury wise, but he's had dodgy knees in the past, so he really needs to stay fit. But Pelicans definitely in there with a chance of finishing in 8th. Unlike, I would probably say, the Mavs, who it looks like this season, we've seen it over the last couple of days where they're absolutely doing nothing in free agency. They're really looking maybe to get another high pick.
Yeah.
So coming off that 33-win season last year, they probably only got 33 wins last year because they're quite exceptionally coached. Dirk missed almost 30 games. Barea, who's really a spark plug off the bench, missed 50 games. And, the Andrew Bogut situation never really connected. Deron Williams was bought out mid-year. So it was really incredible for them to actually win 33 and not about
The
15.
Bogut thing just didn't work. Like
No.
they didn't sync with them, and
I think it has to say they got very lucky with Harrison Barnes. I mean, only really going there because KD ended up at Golden State, and the bloke put in one of the worst finals performances you will ever see in that loss to the Cavs.
last season, that was some of the worst shooting,
horrendous.
I reckon.
And then he's come back and basically shooting like 19.2 a game. He was very efficient, 46%, and taking a lot of mid-range and a lot of three-pointers. So he really showed something, but they really don't have enough depth to really get more than 35 wins this year, I would say. They did well getting Dennis Smith Jr. in our pick 9. I think he'll be playing a lot of starters minutes this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks good.
But I think everyone's favourite story last year, Yogi Ferrell, coming in off the D-League contract and hitting about
What did he get? 8 or 9 threes in that one game.
against Portland on Damian Lillard as well. I mean, most people don't tend to do that sort of thing. So for him to come off the D-League 10-day contract, wasn't wanted at Brooklyn. So it'll be
That's
interesting.
saying something, isn't it?
Yeah. And they nabbed Nerlens Noel off Philadelphia, which was a very lucky deal. For
Not a bad get for you guys,
No.
I reckon.
Yeah, so to end up with Nerlens, who looks like he'll re-sign for next season. That hasn't been done yet. But there is some holes in the front court. We've all played 2K. We all know how bad the rebounding is. And unfortunately, it's worse in their actual games, I would say.
Yeah, exactly
they're
right.
just terrible rebounding-wise. Wes Matthews just plays with absolute determination, but his shooting figures is very poor. Defensively, he's good, but for what he offers, he's under 40% field goal shooting from last season. 3-point wise, he was, decent, making 2.4 a game, but to pay 17 mil for a spot-up shooter, it just shows how incredibly inflated the market was last season and 2 seasons ago, and I think people and teams and GMs are really not biting the ball, but really struggling this season to do deals because of that. And I think there's a lot of teams really upset about some deals they made in the past, no more than probably the Lakers, who picked Deng and Mozgov, $35 million between them. Then you have to deal one of them to make cap space for this off season. But I think we're all probably in agreement. The Mavs looking at maybe number 1 pick next year.
I'd say, yeah. I don't think there's a whole lot of upside for them next year. I don't reckon they're going to do anything in free agency.
And in their division, Spurs and Rockets could win 60 games each next year, and that's 4 games a pop against them. And then Memphis probably around the 41, Pelicans around the 41. There's a lot of tough games for them this year.
Depending on how the Grizzlies and the Pelicans go, you could be in a division there with 4 playoff teams. I don't think I think you might be in that 5th spot for a couple of years.
Historically, the Southwest Division has been very tough. I think it was 2 seasons ago when Pelicans finished 8th and Mavs was 7th. Rockets were
you'd all made it into the playoffs.
It's really crazy how tough that division has been for a long time.
Yeah.
On the positive side, at least you get to see Dirk for a few more years.
I think, you mean we. I think everyone's really lucky to be able to see one of the great shooters of all time. Absolutely changed the game and was lucky enough to get that one title before the Golden State super teams really took over.
Quickly on Dirk, how long do we reckon he has left?
Or
2 years?
I think it depends how long the body stays up for.
Yeah.
I think if he can play more than 65 games this year, why not go?
Is that what he played? Yeah. So he played 65.
He was playing 54 last year, but they were all missed basically at the start.
Most of them were, yeah.
Yeah, he played the first game and then missed maybe 20 of the next 25 or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's really good for basketball if he continues to play and continues to play at a high level.
Cool. So that's the Southwest Division. So we're going to move on to the Pacific Division, and Nick's going to kick us off with the Golden State Warriors.
What's it really to say here? Best conference in the West. Best conference in the league, actually. 67-15, first position overall. Season before, they had a record-breaking 73-9. Did Durant make the team better? That is the biggest question. He was injured for half the season.
Yeah.
They still had an almost record-breaking season again.
It's almost did
6
they have
losses.
to sign him? Like,
Did they need him?
to sign him?
It showed in finals that they needed him. Would have they won the thing at the end if they didn't have him? I don't think so.
No.
Probably.
Well, you'd have to consider Ezeli and Bogut's health they both missed the majority of the season. I think Azili only practiced once all year.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to be this big guy that they would have to give up or sacrifice for Durant. And how's that looking now?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
So, and you balance off between Harrison Barnes and Durant. I think we all know who would prefer.
It's probably the easiest pick of all time.
Yeah.
Like.
But I think they really, where they were lucky with, they found JaVale McGee, who has all the physical tools. Probably mentally,
He's lacking a bit upstairs.
yeah, basketball IQ can be a bit low at times.
You saw what he could do in the finals.
Yeah.
He's not a bad player.
No.
Like, he's not terrible.
I mean, and
He gets a lot of grief for all that. Like,
Yeah.
on
And-
Shaq and the Fool and stuff like that. Like, he gets a lot of crap.
I think it was unfortunate where he would play a really good stretch of basketball, do one silly thing, and then he's on.
Yeah, like-
Shaq just full on rips him a new one, and
And then that's all that people remember.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Was it? They've got 3 players over 20 points a game. You've got Curry with 25, Durant with 25, Clay with 22. Not hard to beat. Not difficult to beat that sort of team, especially when they're playing 30-plus minutes a game. Don't really need much of a bench with that. Draymond, again, killing it as well. They've got four All-Stars in their starting lineup. Their biggest problem is really Zaza and JaVale McGee at the centre, but
They did a job.
they've got 2 24-minute players that split half the game. They're not going to be too tired. They'll
And,
get their
yeah.
rebounds, and when you're shooting 110, 120 points a game, and you got what Curry's got, you put it into Durant slashing. There's not much you can do against them.
and they don't tend to be out there in crunch time anyway. You've got the death lineup of Iguodala coming in off the bench
Yeah.
and Draymond, who's just unbelievable. He
Him
can gut.
slotting into the 3 and
Yeah.
Durant to the 4 and Draymond to the 5.
Yeah, the guy can
Yeah.
defend any position between 1 to 5. It's just incredible for a
And
second
he-
round.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
second round pick.
Oh,
for
it's-
everyone to miss him is just unbelievable.
35 he went, second
Yeah,
round.
Yeah.
That's
That's
ridiculous.
crazy.
That's ridiculous.
And looking to the future for these guys, you've got Durant, who just re-signed for 2 years, 53 mil. That's not too bad. He's taking less. Really, obviously didn't like the OKC Thunder if he's taking this much money to win championships. Do you have
Desperate.
anything to say about that, Tim?
No, it's a little bit desperate, but he's a nice player.
Is he?
Yeah, he's,
Sure.
he's a nice player. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing about his personality or his ethical standings.
No, do you reckon Klay Thompson will stay at the end of next season?
I hope not, because he's talking about going to the Lakers, and I'd love that. I think they've kept Iggy. They've kept.
That was a good. That
They've
was good
kept
for them.
Iggy, yeah, and
Curry
only
on
on
the
48
Supermax.
mil.
Curry on a supermax now.
Curry on 40 million a year,
Yeah,
crazy money.
201, yeah.
Handy.
It looks like they've got a championship next year as well, unless Cavs do something special.
Or health.
Unless they get injured. Potentially OKC could steal something from them in a conference finals, but don't see that happening.
Mm.
So,
But it's their division's looking a bit funky, I would say, probably with the Kings and the Lakers. And the Suns. You don't really
Those
know,
bottom 3. Yeah.
what to expect from those 3 going into next year. They're really only the legitimate team who you could argue has probably been weakened with the loss of Chris Paul. Is the Clippers, but they've traded for Gallinari today, so they're looking stronger.
Well, yeah, on this season they won 51 games. I think it was a couple down on last year. 51-31.
Massive health problems though throughout the season.
Oh,
with Chris Paul and Blake
it's
Griffin.
always the case though. Like
Yeah.
it's been like that for the last couple of years. Like they've lost. Last season they were 2-0 up against Portland in the first
Yeah.
round, and Paul and Griffin go down within 5 minutes of each other,
Yeah.
and they're done. And then we lose. They lose the next 4. So,
But sorry, just not to interrupt, but with those 2 injuries as well, they were so like accidental as well. I think it was Griffin's hand or something, and then this year as well.
yeah, Paul fractured his finger by like getting caught in someone's shorts.
And then
Yeah, it
Paul
was-
hurts his foot, and then he's out for the rest of the season this year against the Jazz. So they've just had incredibly bad luck. It really is that Clipper curse.
Griffin does a pretty good job, though, as forcing these injuries on himself.
Oh, well, look,
Well-
ask Bashar Hooley. Apparently, sometimes you just need to punch someone. But
Alright.
all the AFL integrity manager, not the integrity, the diversity officer. So you just don't know what to expect from these people sometimes.
Yeah, so in regards to points and stats and things like that, Blake averaged 21.5 points, which I thought was pretty decent. He only played 61 games.
And he added the 3 to his repertoire, which was quite interesting.
Yeah,
I started
towards the
saying
end of
that.
last season, he really focused on getting out to that 3-point line.
I think people were really rough giving it to Blake Griffin towards the end of the year about his shooting, but he's really seemed to develop that. And I think people tend to forget he was a really poor free throw shooter in his first year, but he worked incredibly hard.
Correct. You can see the progression.
Yeah.
Like it's a perfect thing to show. Like his progression was he was 50 at the start of his career, and now he's 75, 80 almost this year, and now he's going to branch out and go to the 3. Paul, who's obviously gone to the Rockets this year, averaged 18, and Redick, who's been traded to the 76ers on a 1-year, $23 million deal. Which
I
thought
think
was
these
a bit
1 year
strange.
deals.
Yeah.
It looks great.
Yeah, it's not too bad, but I really enjoyed Redick's.
It did seem like the Clippers were happy for Redick to go. I think they've decided to go in the other direction, getting in Lou Williams. I think Austin Rivers cops a little bit of flack purely because of his last name and his dad being Doc. I think people tend to forget he's actually he can be quite a useful player. And so I think with those two and Redick,
his cutting and driving's
it
improved out of sight this year, and he actually improved the 3 ball. He started off quite terrible, and then towards the end of the year, he was starting to make a few more and having more confidence. Then he would go in and
I would say with the addition of Beverly as well, Clippers have maybe got a different edge to them, a little bit more toughness and a little bit more mentally tough. I think people in past years have
almost
labelled Clippers soft, whereas now with
They
Beverly,
did a bit of grunt. They did a bit of grunt. Like they're very
Beverly was up.
Beverly's gonna lift them up a bit in that defensive side of things.
Yeah.
But
and now with Gallinari coming in, you can go small ball 4 with him and Griffin. So it's it'll be interesting.
Gallinari at 3 and Griffin 4 and DJ 5, who averaged 13.8 rebounds a game last year.
Don't know why you'd call the Clippers soft at all. I've never seen anything bad from them once. Have you, Sproul?
Oh, look, I think there's the old infamous when they were 15 up against Houston in Game 6 of 2015, and to lose with Harden playing a lot of those minutes on the bench. I think people won't ever forget.
It was the bench that won in that game as well. It was like
Josh Smith.
Josh Smith, who then came to us last season.
Went to the Clippers in that off season and couldn't replicate that at all. It was just, I think Corey Brewer as well had a massive last quarter in that game as well. So it's funny how these players just turn up once in a while.
Yeah, exactly right. I just think going into this year, I think we're lacking. They're lacking in the point guard spot, whether it be
a bit more playmaking.
Whether Beverly's going to be the backup point guard or whether he's going to start, and whether they need a shooting guard to be able to handle the ball, or there's talks of them talking to Rondo as well, and with that connection between Doc and Rondo in the past, the Celtics having their mini dynasty, I guess you could call it.
If anything, this will be a season to watch the Clippers. Not even to see how good they're going to be, but just to see if they can get 44 wins, see if they can make the finals. And
exactly right.
playoffs.
I think the two big guys, Griffin and DJ, are looking for that pass first point guard because that's what they've been dealing with for the last 3 years. Rondo knows how to throw a lob. He's averaged 10 assists.
Yeah,
Rondo would be
a
that's
great
Rondo
fit.
to a team.
It's a perfect fit. I'd be surprised if he didn't sign a deal
I think
to go to the Clips.
I think this is the 1 year in particular where Griffin needs to stay healthy. He needs to play 75 plus games, and
that's going to be key.
Yeah, he needs to show that he's more of a leader. I mean, he's already done that by not talking to any other teams and signing with the Clippers straight away before free agency really opens.
You don't see much of that anymore.
Yeah,
bit of loyalty in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't seen that with Hayward, who might stay at the Jazz. Looks like he might make the decision tomorrow, but he's been really contemplating the Celtics and the Heat. Whereas Griffin just not bothered talking to other teams. So I think, but they're in a softish division, and with that,
still I think would get the second spot in the Pacific Division. I don't think the Suns or the Lakers or even the Kings can probably.
Depends what the Lakers do in this next few days.
It's going to be big, missing out on Paul George and things like that. But first we'll move on to the Kings, who finished third in the Pacific Division. Dan, do you want to take us through Kings there?
Well, I think third's a pipe dream this year. They're not good at all. They had 32 wins last year, so they finished 12th in the conference.
But that was with 55 games of Boogie.
Yeah, that's what I was about. Cousins, Gay, and Collison were their top 3 players, and they're all gone. Gay still up in the air. Collison, Indiana, I think he signed.
Yeah,
with,
2
or-
years, 20 million.
Yeah, so he's moved there.
It's not a bad deal for him.
Cousins obviously went to Pelicans towards the back end of last year. He's talking with OKC,
Is-
talking with a number
and
of
he's-
teams.
Is there any chance of him staying though,
But he,
or is he?
no, I
is he
couldn't
fully
imagine.
gone?
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine he'll stay. And also, he hurt his Achilles, I think.
Yeah,
towards the
so-
end last year.
Yeah, he-
so
So he's pretty.
it's
yeah.
looking like he might want to play for a contender. And
He's another one of those injury prone blokes. So
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
he doesn't stay.
And I-
doesn't
Exactly.
help with
I'm
that.
not sure how much the Kings would really want him to stay. To be honest.
Well, yeah, they've gone. I think they're going in the completely different
Yeah.
direction now. It's time for a rebuild, and I think central to that, apart from the draftees, is Buddy Hield, who they got as part of the Cousins deal.
And
Yes,
this
and,
is
you
someone
know-
they highly rated as well. So.
Yeah, and for good reason too. I mean, he started off on the bench, not playing many minutes, but then he ramped it right up. He ended up averaging 15 points at 48% shooting, and he's a
That's
three-point
the-
shooter. So that's like, that's what they need. That's what he adds average 6 3-point shots per game, and he had 48% shooting overall. So that's
If you're making three of them, then
that's pretty handy. So he's the one they highly rate. But then you have to look at the draft because that's what they're looking at with their youngsters now. They got De'Aaron Fox, who probably starting point guard straight
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
He comes straight in.
with Buddy Hield at the two.
Yeah,
And
then
I think people tend to forget he did play very well in the NCAA championship, so he could turn out to be the best point guard in the draft, even though he was the third one taken. So
exactly, and they got Justin Jackson at pick 15 as part of a trade that they did, and he was the conference player of the year within his thing. So he's a small forward, and he'll fit right in straight away as well. He's prolific. The issue with them is they've got too many shooting guards.
Mm.
Yeah.
They've got like 5 or 6 on their roster, and I was reading, looking through their contracts. Obviously, we don't know what's happening with Rudy Gay. Obviously, we think he's moving, but potentially their biggest contract at the moment is a guy that hasn't played in the NBA that they're just signing. Yeah, Bogdan.
Bogdanovic, yeah.
Yeah, so 8.6 million. He's potentially going to be their highest paid player. He's a shooting guard as well, so he'll be
Well,
fighting.
last couple of years he's played for the Nets and the Wizards, hasn't he?
Oh no,
That's different.
That's his,
Is that a
cut.
is that a different one?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
So he was drafted by the Suns in 2013.
Ah, okay, yeah,
He's been
yeah.
playing, I think, in the Lithuanian league or
Yeah.
I think
something
he
like
played
that.
against Australia in the Olympics.
Yeah, so he was
Bogdanovic,
he's
Gotcha.
Serbian.
It's the richest rookie deal in history.
Yeah, so they
yeah,
obviously
yeah.
highly rate him.
Yeah.
He's a shooting guard, and they have a number of them. So I'm not sure what they're doing. Obviously, they're going for a restructure. Otherwise, apart from Bogdanovic, 8.6 million. The next, Costa Koufos, 8.4 million. He's the second highest paid player. And Garrett Temple, 8 million. And that's not exactly equality right
They don't
there.
have
But it's not much.
I don't-
They're not spending that much. But
The problem with the Kings has been, I think we all know during the Cousins saga, was always been their front office and their ownership have just been out of control. So for them to go through a rebuild, they really need to rebuild, in house as well as on the court.
yeah, so I think you probably.
just
I reckon they'll
revamp
be.
of the whole,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the whole club
And-
itself. I think.
One team that's really done that sort of revamp was the Lakers when they brought in Magic.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
been a big player this offseason.
And he just came in, wiped basically Mozgov straight away, just tried to get rid of him at all costs, and unfortunately still has to deal with that Den contract of 17 mil a year.
But you can see what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll move on to the Lakers. I think Nick's
The Lakers with 26 wins, 56 losses, 4th overall in the conference. They really should have come 15th overall in the conference. They traded away mid-season to lose more games by trading away Lou Will, who was clearly the best player in the team, trying to open up whatever they could. Then their next best player became Russell, and they've given him away. Probably and most definitely just to get rid of Mozgov's contract, and that is the biggest talking point right now for the Lakers is their salary cap, because they've had Mozgov on 18 mil or 16 mil, and they had Deng on 18 mil. They've been forced to give away Russell to get rid of that contract, which isn't great. We're looking for point guards right now just to fill that hole, like Russell would have done.
Yeah.
The next step is clearly getting rid of Deng's contract and working on having one pretty average season, hopefully trying to make the playoffs somewhere, maybe potentially using Randall or Ingram just to get rid of Deng's contract exactly the same way we did with Russell.
Russell and Mozgov, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Lonzo's just signed a 4-year deal, $30 million, a pretty big rookie contract as well. Um,
Gee, that's massive.
yeah, they're really Magic's gone huge on Lonzo. He's going to be the face of the company, 100%. They're going to put Lonzo at the point, working on getting a more veteran point guard, Rondo or George Hill. That was discussion, just on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Help Lonzo
Help him
out for
through
a
his
year.
first year.
Exactly. Maybe Dion Waiters at the 2.
Could sort of mentor him as well. Like
Exactly.
that'd
I
be
think
perfect.
low key, Dion Waiters did have when he was fit, it was only about 50% of the year, but he really had a solid season for Miami. I think.
Yeah, towards the end of the season,
Yeah.
we were certainly being told about how good Waiters was from a few people.
Yeah.
But I think something that's very key in these post-season antics are that, except for George, who is almost 90% coming to the Lakers next year, is that
Not 90% in your dreams, or
he's going to the Lakers, mate.
Okay.
OKC are going to choke in conference finals, and we're going to have him the next year
deja
on
vu. Deja vu.
a pretty big contract, I would assume. And then they're not, apart from that, George, they're not looking for a power forward. They're not looking for a small forward. So they're clearly looking to give more minutes into Randall, more minutes into Ingram, make them better players, potentially make them better trade bait to go elsewhere.
I'm really not sure how much upside Randall will have. I mean, he's a bit slow. He's a bit small. He doesn't really shoot that well from the power forward. He's about 6'8". He's a good passer, though.
He's a bloke with a lot of potential.
But see, with that, I think the guy who they got from that Brooklyn trade, Lopez.
Lopez.
He's going to be. I reckon he's going to be good for Randall. I reckon it's the same thing with Lonzo
Mentoring
trying to, Lonzo and maybe George Hill or Rondo being that mentor for Randall and being able to, because Brook Lopez has just turned his game around. Like he's shooting a three now. He's shooting a three now.
Best season ever.
And it's just so surprising to see.
And it's
See him leave the Nets as well. Like that's.
It's been a few years with Lakers really cellar dwellers, and I think we all get a bit of grief from the Lakers bandwagoners when they're all up and about, but it is good to see some of the big franchises flying. And I think with the whole Lonzo Ball, LeVar Ball thing, it will be interesting to see them up and about this year. I don't think they'll make playoffs this year. I think that might be a little bit
I
far.
wouldn't mind arguing that because I think it's not on Lonzo. It's going to be on what Magic does now.
Yeah.
If Magic can sign players like
he really needs
Waiters,
people to support him and be able to make shots. And
I think they'll be one of the teams that push for. You talk about Grizzlies. You talk
they'll
about
be in that
Pelicans
Pelicans, Grizzlies.
they'll be in that 8 spot. It really, but with Lopez just going to do his thing again, they're all 1-year deals. I think we'll sign them because we've got so much salary cap right now.
Yeah.
And then his Magic is going to give them $20 million over 5 years. No one's going to compete with that.
Yeah.
$20 million over 1 year.
Yeah.
Just smash that huge contract. And
Well,
we'll have a half decent team this year.
That's what Philly did with the JJ Redick deal. Really, instead of paying him over a couple of years to keep flexibility going forward, they've just flogged him the entire salary in 1 year.
Yeah, and he was looking for
Yeah.
he wanted $20 million a year at least.
Yeah.
So giving him that 1 year deal, perfect.
Yeah.
A team that's clearly in the rebuilding phase is the Phoenix Suns. Like you could tell by the end of last year, they were starting all their young guys. They had Bledsoe, they had Knight, they had all those guys on the bench, not starting. They were starting Tyler Ulis, I believe, at the point.
Yeah.
But a good signing at the draft, they got Josh Jackson, who's a very good small forward. I wouldn't say he'd be the starter. I don't think. I think
it could be.
he could be. It depends what kind of off season he has. He's got the potential to be able to come in maybe a few games, 20 games into the season and be that starting small forward for them. I think they need to go in the young direction.
And it does look like they've gone down that path. I mean, they did schedule a meeting with Blake Griffin, but I think once he resigned with Clippers, I think they kind of have decided to blow it up a little bit. And
They're in complete rebuild. Like they'll be 15th in the West. I don't see them rising above
Potentially
anyone
Kings.
else.
But,
Maybe the Kings, depending on who they sign
only
and
because
where
the
they can.
potential of the Suns' young guys is if
Devin
you look at
Booker.
the squad, I think that that they've got a lot of good young guys there. Whereas you look at other teams, maybe not. But I know they're too young right now. But
there will be a lot of games where Booker's taken 35 shots next season.
Oh, 100%. Because there's not much shooting. There's not much shooting there. But you got Bledsoe, who's there.
it'd be nearly justified to see him. I mean,
Yeah, I think he's going to be an unbelievable player.
Yeah.
To average 22 points in your second year a game is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, yeah, he scored 70 points this year, but like, I think he's going to be one of the top 10,
Yeah.
if not top 5 players in the
Absolutely.
NBA in the future. Like
and
he's
and at the end of the day, if Phoenix aren't going to put enough talent around him, he's going to end up walking in a few years. So
yeah, exactly
Um,
right. They got
it's
to
up to
watch
them.
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's up to them.
And another key, I reckon, will also be Bledsoe as well. I think
Well,
he needs to take a bit of ownership. I reckon. Like
He was
He's
looking for a
the-
way out half the time. Like
he's one guy that definitely could get moved for another pick. I think there's a few teams in the East, especially that's so talent devoid nowadays,
Yeah.
that really could give Phoenix another pick and
and get
But he's the perfect guy to be like, if they're going to have one guy that's experienced, that's able to do everything, you'd like to have Bledsoe there to run the point. And
he's
do
another
things.
guy.
be the leader in charge.
He's
like,
another guy with injury problems over the
Yeah,
last few years though as well.
there's not much depth there at the point position though.
Yeah, I think
you got
Yeah.
you got Eulis
yeah.
as well, but that's about it.
I think
Yeah,
with
so
their-
Bledsoe.
yeah, I think with
Bledsoe and Eulis, they need.
their expectations of what we really think of them going the year, they're going to sign a few D-leaguers, a lot of 10-day contracts, just see what they can find.
Might
and-
find someone.
Yeah, and
They might find a Yogi Ferrell.
yeah, true.
You
And
know what I
then-
mean? Like
yeah, and
you
then
never know what you can find with those 10-day contracts. Like they could find people they want to use. So.
yeah, Jonathan Simmons paid to be in a
Perfect.
D-league, paid $150 to be in a D-league,
Probably the
Try
best
out
example of that. Like that.
and now
Yeah.
he's getting offered $9 million a year. So it's just incredible how things change.
Yeah. So I think we're all in agreement that
They'll be
Suns.
bottom.
they'll be bottom
Bottom
two.
two or three.
Bottom
Two of the West, and I think, but I would recommend looking out for Booker this year. I reckon he's going to get even better. I reckon. So that's it for the Pacific Division. We'll move on to our last division today, which is the Northwest Division. We're going to kick things off with the Utah Jazz. Nick, do you want to?
51 wins, 5th spot. It's an 11-win increase year over year. What is that? They made playoffs, beat the Clippers in the first round with the ISO Joe. Just
He was so clutch in that series.
just give it to Joe and let him do
it
his thing.
was ridiculous.
One of the funniest things about that offseason was everyone referring to ISO Joe like a few years ago we weren't taking the P155 out of him by calling him ISO Joe, and then makes a couple of game winners against the Clippers and everyone loves him. I mean,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
it's funny how things go.
It's a bit difficult to talk about the Jazz in the future, though, because Hayward potentially gone. They've kept Ingles, but that Hayward, next 24 hours, he's making a decision as we're speaking right now. He's got to sleep on it, was the quote. It's
So
going to be
we'll know that
interesting.
tomorrow, will we?
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Should know that
should know that tomorrow.
It'll be interesting to see who breaks it on Twitter first, if it's the old Woj or his protege Shams.
Yeah.
Two people worth following on Twitter, those two.
Oh, breaking news every.
Yeah,
Every 10 minutes.
I mean, the Jazz have really gone for it to keep Howard by trading in Ricky Rubio. So
Yeah, well, they've also got Gobert. They've re-signed Joe Ingles on a fairly big contract, wasn't it? Was it 4 years?
Three, I think.
3 years?
3 year, 48 million.
48?
Yeah.
So it's a
something
pretty
like that.
big deal for a small forward. Maybe they're expecting that Hayward might not stay, especially if they're going to pay $16 million for a guy that only plays 20 minutes a game. And only
If I
hits
was
7
Hayward, I'd
points
be
as
looking
well.
to stay. I reckon
I'd
they've
be
got
looking
huge
to stay as
potential.
well. They've
With
got huge
Rubio at the
potential.
point,
Yeah.
and Gobert
Yeah.
at centre.
I would love to see him stay.
Yeah, that'd be.
I reckon that'd be a huge force next year.
But just on Joe Ingles, isn't it crazy about how far he's come? I think we all remember him from his South Dragons days.
Mate, I got a
Yeah.
South Dragons
Yeah.
tie.
Yeah,
I'm all over
that's
this.
That's what you do.
So good.
Probably around
Yeah.
here somewhere. But
Yeah.
and then to go into Europe for a while, and then he was in the summer league for the Clippers, I think, and I think he was about the 15th or 16th man, and they were deciding
He was the
between-
last one
Yeah.
waived.
last one waived before the start of the season, and you see him running after Chris Paul in playoffs as a defensive matchup, and it's
Yeah.
just incredible to see how far he's come.
Just
And,
that long
long
long body.
Congratulations to him.
And he's had a huge...
He's
He's a
massive.
huge defensive efforts this
Oh.
season as well. That was his big improvement. Was he could shoot a few threes, but this season he stepped those threes up and actually been a defensive beast as well.
Yeah, he's a cult hero there.
Yeah.
And part of his re-signing was as a motivation to keep Hayward
Yeah,
because
they-
they're really close. So
Yeah,
smart move.
They link
from-
well though. There was a few
Mm.
times this year where they linked up for an alley oop because Eagles' passing has
Yeah.
improved out of sight, and they link up very well.
You know, and Hayward's meeting today in San Diego with the Jazz. Apparently, Ingles was there along with Rubio. So they're really focused on those two to really try and keep him.
on that passing. George Hill gone, which means they had to bring in Rubio. Rubio, an assist beast. George Hill as a point guard, only averaging 4.2 assists a game.
That's not.
It's not enough.
He's definitely more of a shoot first, more in that Mike Conley mold rather than the Ricky Rubio who. Yeah. At times,
he's pass first. He's a pure pass.
At times, you can leave him open from the 3-point line, and he's not going to hurt you. But so it'll be interesting to see how Quinn Snyder, balances that off this season.
Really rate him as a coach as well. I reckon he's improved the last few years. He's shown what he can do. He's shown where he can get this team, and I reckon if they can keep Hayward, I reckon they're going to be a huge force.
Yeah, they could go top 4.
Yeah, I completely agree.
The only problem with the Jazz for next season is, with the Warriors in that division. I mean, in that conference. It's just so difficult to give
4 losses straight up.
Yeah,
they showed us that during the finals.
If you can get that 2 or 3 spot, you don't have to face them until
and then
conference finals.
Hope that injuries get your way or that sort of thing. And what I do admire is a lot of these teams in the West they've said, we're going to try and beat this mob. We're not going to go into rebuild too soon, or we're not going to blow it up. Rockets mentality is we're just going to try and hit as many threes as them as possible. So we should see if the Jazz can do that.
Yeah, and I guess when you're talking about top 4 potentially Utah, the other top 4 potential team is the Thunder, especially with the big move where they brought in Paul George. So
just out of the blue, it was just out of nowhere.
Nothing.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, it was about an hour before free agency, so I think all the the media people were sort of preparing for free agency. I know
switched off a little bit.
I was looking at the time going, get some news in about an hour, and then get a couple of messages. Paul George to OKC. I think a few OKC fans, fell to the floor in shock. And
Boston miss another one.
Yeah, well,
it really shows what Boston's doing when it comes out that the Lakers offered pick 27, pick 28, Ingram or Randall and Clarkson, and Pacers end up trading off Oladipo and Sabonis. It shows that Boston wasn't doing anything, and that Thunder clearly get better here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they dropped off 47 wins, 8 less than the previous year. Obviously, Durant had left. And, I mean, you're looking at Westbrook, MVP, triple-double season, but he really needs help. Oladipo is a good young player, but he didn't really fit all that well.
He wasn't good enough. He doesn't improve like everyone thought he would.
Yeah, exactly. So he didn't fit right. He didn't fit in. And Sabonis, I mean, I liked Sabonis. He showed some good patches and stuff.
He had very good potential. I thought he was going to be.
Well, he still can be at Indiana, but package only those two together to bring in Paul George, even if it's the 1-year rental, which it almost certainly will be, that's going to lift the Thunder right up back to potentially that 55-win season, top 4, maybe even 3 if you depends how Spurs or Rockets go. But
the one advantage I'd say definitely about dealing Oladipo was that he had a bit of an average contract. It was $18 million a year, and then you combine that with what Cantor's making as well. It was $18 million a year, and Adams 20. So
22.
They've really done well to shed a bad contract and get in a quality,
one of the best small
potential all NBA player.
They freed up cap space in doing the move.
Yeah.
They were $4 million better off bringing in Paul George. So, I mean, I really like the move.
Which sounds stupid, doesn't it? You bring in Paul George and you're $4 million better off.
It's a great move, regardless of the fact that it's probably for 1 year. It's still a great move.
It's going to be fun to see. I can't wait to see it, actually. It's
win enough games and it won't be for 1 year. I think that's what has to be the...
exactly. But he needs that carrot of a genuine contender team, and that's going to be
what it would be interesting to see, though, if things start off a bit slow or Westbrook sort of goes down with an injury or something, and does Paul George get dealt at the deadline to the Lakers? So I think that...
halfway during the year, maybe that type of thing. If Westbrook, that's nice.
Potentially, I mean, there's still holes in the OKC team. You'll get the shooting guard position. I mean, Roberson probably moves. Maybe if he stays, he gets to move back to the 2 probably.
One of the all defensive teams.
But I mean, we see better shooting on a Wednesday night down at our local basketball. Rather than Roberson just clanking over.
He's 25% or 30%.
He's not good.
You just don't need that.
And
that's what he does on the offensive end. That's all he does on the offensive end.
It's just the defense, but him and George, I mean, that's
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
it's
that's
long
good
and-
coverage.
Yeah,
But then you've got the power forward position as well, and you can't start Cantor and Adams. Cantor's a liability.
Yeah.
So they're looking at. There's rumours about Randolph, as I said before with the Grizzlies. There's rumours that OKC might be interested in that. There's J. Michael Green, who's potentially, he's a restricted free agent at the moment.
I
He's
would say it's a shame that McDermott's not a bit taller and a bit stronger, and then he could play the
before.
the short.
it just.
short ball four.
You wonder if Billy Donovan's going to just try and fix a few things up. Maybe push George, play him there for a few minutes.
Push George to the 4 and then
Potentially, and then you can start McDermott. You can
'Cause
start
you really miss
Abrinas is going to have a big season. Like they really rate him, and he's a
He's a
three-point
great
shooter.
He's a
He
great
can
shooter.
shoot his threes. He can do all that sort of stuff. So it's interesting for OKC. There's rumours a couple more moves might happen. They need something else to really be a genuine contender. Right now, they're a step below.
Yeah.
They could still be that top 4. They could have that 4th spot, which is big, and push them into the second round of the conference finals. And they can do whatever, but really, they're not in the class of the Warriors or Rockets or Spurs at the moment. I don't think.
I really want to see McBuckets get a lot more minutes.
Yeah.
He got nothing at the end of that last season.
Yeah.
If you push Paul to
He was just chump change really last year.
Yeah, if you-
As soon as he went from the Bulls, he was he was
I
nothing.
mean, he never really kicked onto the Bulls, but I think it's fair to say he's got one of the college nicknames going around, Nick Buckets. I mean, it was a terrific.
Gets buckets.
Yeah.
What
He had
do
a
you want as
yeah,
basketball
He had a
name, like?
terrific college career, and Bulls gave up 2 first rounders to select him at 10.
Yeah.
And I think that turned out to be, Gary Harris and Jokic. So it's,
Yeah.
I mean, they missed out on that one, didn't they?
The potential's there because OKC was ranked really poorly 3-point shooting. So and now you've got McDermott who could get more minutes. You've got Abrinas. George can hit threes. He was 39% from 3 last year.
just push George to the 4. You
Yeah.
put McDermott on the field, and you've got a team that
Yeah.
can compete on threes with the Rockets and the Golden State Warriors almost.
Exactly. So I think Donovan. I mean, if no one signs for power forward, I think you'll see George play a lot of
Play a lot of the
time
4
in the
this year.
4.
Yeah,
Which I don't think
just don't
he'll.
see. Yeah,
He can do it. I mean,
So
it's
are
not-
we tipping 50 wins and a second round exit for the OKC?
yeah.
I think so.
I'd say top 4 finish. Yeah.
I want to say biggest problem with Paul George going to the 4 is that he doesn't like the 4. It's been very
No, he doesn't.
common is
Yeah.
that he hates
Yeah.
it and that he might ask out mid-season if he
Yeah.
gets forced to the 4, which might throw off.
Which makes it even more important that they try and sign Randolph as well.
So it's crucial. The power forward, that's a huge position at the moment. I wonder, even if he does try and just start Cantor and see how it goes,
Yeah, but
Even
you might
though
even
that leaves
see
you
you might
open.
even see them start playing the small ball as well. More
potentially.
often.
So I mean, and it'll be fun to see Westbrook and George and see how they work together.
See if they can share enough shots between each other.
Exactly.
You'd have to get a few steals to make sure
They
they
all
both
shoot,
get
yeah.
their shots on.
Exactly. So OKC will be a really interesting and potentially fun team to watch this year.
Speaking of fun teams as well, backcourts.
Oh,
Portland Trailblazers.
I would say,
What a backcourt that is.
yeah, McCollum and Lillard. I think people tend to forget last season they were actually 24 and 35 at one stage. So to finish at 41 and 41 and get in the playoffs was quite the remarkable effort. Lillard, what can we say about him? Unbelievable scorer. Again, one more of these shoot first, plays with incredible intensity, but his assist numbers are still a little bit low. And you think, how long really can him and McCollum, at their massive deals, really coexist for a while?
Just their massive deals.
Wow. I think anyone who really follows the NBA really closely knows what a poor situation the Trailblazers are in general, really. And I think they're one of these teams who got sucked in by this rising cap and were kind of forced to keep players at ridiculous prices. So last season, Brooklyn Nets put in a max restricted free agency offer sheet for Alan Crabb, who was playing 10 minutes a game. He went up to about 20 last
that
year.
was
But
Just to justify.
yeah, and then for them to decide to offer that, they were kind of scared about what was out there compared to what they had. So then they went out and signed Evan Turner as well, who's going to make $17 million this year. The two of and
Jeez,
yeah, and him is
he's not that amazing either,
no.
really.
And then you combine him with Aminu, who's actually got a value deal. He's only $7 million, a pretty good defender, decent enough on threes, but not anywhere near elite. But him and Evan Turner, especially Evan Turner, just such poor shooting from the 3, and that's really where they're going to be let down.
25 mil right there.
Yeah,
That's a lot of money to be paying guys.
and they're capped out already. I mean, they're spending $136 million next year, and they've got one of the top 4 highest payrolls for 41 wins. So
I guess one of the positives it was getting Nurkic from the Nuggets.
Yeah,
Like,
great.
that was a perfect deal for them.
I think that what really made that deal better was how poorly Azili's health was last year. I think people saw a bit of Azili and thought he could really rise into a good player with more opportunity, but he only competed in one practice session all year, and he's been waived going into next season. So
just didn't work. It just didn't work out for him in the end. But
health wise,
they got Nurkic, and Nurkic, I reckon, is going to be their centre for a couple of years now. I reckon.
Yeah, but I think they've also got a bit of a void in the point guard position for backing up Lillard. I think there's definitely an over reliance on his minutes.
What do they have at the point?
Well, there was a bit of Shabazz Napier towards the end of last season, backing up Lillard.
He's been shuffled around, hasn't he?
Yeah. I think what people really remember him for is on draft day when he was taken. LeBron tweeting about how much he liked this kid. So
the Heat got him, and then LeBron left.
Yeah, but
it was ridiculous.
I mean, Portland, they're a fun team. I think definitely fun.
If Lillard and McCollum are on, they're a fun team to watch.
Yeah,
if they're not on,
team.
then but you couldn't be stuck watching them really. Like
for their payroll. I mean, they're gonna win maybe 45 games, and that's with Lillard and McCollum playing at a ridiculous high level. And you can't really see them winning too many playoff games. And
I see them around this same spot as well.
You think Jokic adds 4 wins to a season? Just 4
wins?
Nurkic.
Nurkic. Por que los dos?
Look, it's a tough one because, in isolation, he does get him 4 more wins, but how many does Butler take away from Portland? So it's like, Portland now might lose a couple more games at the Timberwolves, and that takes away a couple. And, even other teams will tend to improve. So Sacramento will go backwards, but the Pelicans will go up. So you've got more teams sort of around that mark. So with Portland, one of my favourite parts of last season was when they were playing the Warriors in the playoffs, and you got Alan Crabb defending Curry. Alan Crabb's making 18 mil a year. Curry was making 12 at the time, and it's just
that's funny.
It's just funny how things work out like that. Some of these players, and I think it was Charles Barkley that said the problem with a lot of NBA players is they've got these big contracts, and all of a sudden they think they're superstars when really they're not.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things going forward. But as we mentioned, the team that's really going to take a lot of wins off other teams this year really is the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I think, with their draft day trade of getting in Jimmy Butler, I think everyone was really surprised that got done. I think we'd been hearing about it for months at a time, didn't we? So, but anyway, there were 31 wins last season. Their 13th consecutive season without the playoffs, which was ugly. And we all remember Kevin Love being there, averaging 25 and 12 and 20 and 12 over a course of a season.
The boys had that one good.
Yeah, and that was it really. And there was always a bit of a potential this year going in with Tibbs as coach and someone who was really going to fire up the players and that sort of thing. But they really lacked a bit of veteran leadership. And I think getting Jimmy Butler in, and they got Taj Gibson as well. Yeah. And they're 2 people they're going to really run through walls for Thibodeau. I think that's what he really loves as a coach. And what can you say?
It's really a Bulls reunion, really, isn't it?
But this time you got Towns.
You got Towns, Wiggins, and Teague, which I thought was a very good. That's a very acquisition for.
On paper,
they look really good.
On paper, that 5 is that's big. That's like top 4 on paper.
Yeah, but it's about putting it together.
Yeah,
really.
exactly.
How much?
It's how the off season goes, really, isn't it?
And how Towns is going to play. He's going to put up good numbers, but sort of his game IQ and his defensive side of his game, can he get it up there to how good his offensive numbers are?
Yeah.
And
Gibson will help him.
Yeah, true.
He's a workhorse, Gibson, and he'll do all the little things for you.
And I think last season they're going to miss Levine. I think people don't really give him enough credit for his 3-point shooting, which went off the charts last season to where he was. I mean, it was at almost 40% last year, over 2.5 a game. So, you've got in Jimmy Butler, but you have lost a little bit in Zach LaVine, who unfortunately did his ACL, so he might be out for a little bit of time still. But he's going to be a bit of a loss. And Rubio's pass-first mentality. T's going to come in, but you got Jimmy Butler, Wiggins at the 2 and the 3, who, they like to get into triple threat position, like to use their man, but is there going to be enough ball movement at times?
I don't see Towns or Wiggins averaging nearly as much next year. 25 and 23.
Yeah, you wouldn't imagine so. Not with Butler
With,
coming in.
with Butler,
coming
even
into
Teague
it.
a bit. Like Teague can score you 12, 13 points a game with that lineup.
Yeah, well, Teague actually low-key had a really good year. I mean, he was about 8 assists last year at Indiana and about 15 points a game and was making 1-3 a game. So he's definitely another offensive threat.
Pretty underrated last year, I reckon.
Well,
he wasn't talked about much because he was
at Indiana.
at Indiana.
I think people tend to forget he was a starting point guard in a 60-team win at Atlanta a couple of years ago. So
where they finished
yeah,
top in the East, didn't
yeah.
they?
So
they were huge.
You know, he's going to come in and do well. I reckon. I'm really looking forward to seeing Jeff Teague and Jimmy Butler combined with Wiggins and Towns at Minnesota Timberwolves.
It's a good team. Like that will push they'll jump up above most teams that missed the playoffs last year.
I think it's really exciting that a smaller market team has really got an exciting future. I think you tend to get lumbered in with just the big markets having the big stars and the big potential, whereas now you got Towns and Butler at Minnesota, and it's just going to be great.
Yeah, no, I reckon. Another team that I think, which we just missed before, actually.
Sprout took it over.
Yeah,
he just got in.
He's just on a roll, but
he was ready to start talking shit.
Can we edit out the bit where you throw him under the bus?
No, I think we'll keep it. Denver Nuggets, actually, they finished 4th in the Northwest division. Fell just short of the playoffs, actually, thanks to a Russell Westbrook buzzer beater 3 from very deep.
What a man!
It was a massive shot. Like that completely ruined their season. It was once they lost that game, it was done, and Portland were in.
Unfortunately,
they've got quite an interesting year this year now with Gallinari going out, but Millsap looking like he's going to come in. So,
and with that, they've got Jokic, who was the big improver this year. I reckon. He's
a star.
He really turned up. He turned up after Nurkic left.
He's gonna, exactly right. He's gonna be a star. He averaged 10 rebounds a game and 5 assists. As a center, you should not be averaging 5 assists a game. It's just ridiculous. I reckon, and with that, 16 points as well. Like that's a decent season for anyone's standards, really. Like
fantastic.
Like with his improvements, going to be if he can continue to improve, he's going to be one of the best big men in the league, I reckon. They're actually one of the best offensive teams in the not only in the West but in the actual
NBA.
In the NBA. Like they put up a lot of points. When you see a Denver Nuggets game, you see 110, 115 plus points all the time. But as we said, with Gallo probably leaving,
and he's gone as well, isn't he?
Oh, he was at the Rockets last year.
Yeah, well,
yeah, that's long news. That was a long time ago. They're really lacking in the power forward position now. I mean, they've got Fareed, but Fareed will give you rebounds and a couple of flashy dunks, and that's about it.
Yeah, so they really need that Millsap deal to go through. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
because
it's a dynamic sort of front court, isn't it, with Jokic and Millsap?
Yeah.
Will Barton adds you a little bit.
Will Barton was also pretty big this year, I reckon. Moutier, I think, needs to lift his game a little bit. I think that's also where they're lacking a little bit. With also Jameer Nelson at the point as well. I don't think they're...
Yeah, he's just a veteran nowadays.
He's a veteran.
No, Moutier needs to...
Moutier really needs to step up his game this year. Otherwise, he's not going to...
And this is really a time for him to really start kicking on and making sure he earns his next deal. When he comes out of his rookie deal.
Yeah, and if he doesn't perform this year, I don't see him staying there really. I think they'll go after a big name point guard next year
and use him as a bit of leverage in a deal.
Yeah, because there is that word potential there that he can be a good player. So they'll use that and try and get another player. But I see them probably, if they can get Millsap to replace Gallo, I think
they already agreed to, isn't it, $90 million over 3 years?
Yeah.
So I think Millsap's going to be joining.
Finalised, I think the replacement of Gallo for Millsap will keep them probably around where they are now. A 40-team win.
They're another one of these teams where they're going to need 100% of things to go right to make the playoffs.
We got
Whereas, and it's more likely they're going to drop off. but you can make a case on why they could do really well.
Correct. Yeah, exactly right.
And
Yeah.
Jokic is the forefront of that, where you see put
Yeah.
up triple-double style numbers towards the end of the year. And I guess when you're talking about these teams, there's we've named 4 or 5 teams
Teams
that could
in that little
that
middle
could-
bracket. Yeah.
fight for that 8th spot, 7th, 8th spot. Everything needs to go right for these teams.
I'm really keen to see where Jokic goes in people's fantasy leagues. I think
Yeah.
people are really going to go gamble on him in the 2nd or 3rd round.
I would.
Well, yeah, and I think, I don't think there's.
Can't believe I got Fareed and Nene mixed up. Still,
Yeah, that's
still shouting about that.
that was. I reckon.
I honestly
I mean-
didn't know who played for the
I mean,
the Nuggets apart from Jokic.
that-
Right?
that-
Gallinari left. I didn't know who else there was. I know about Barton, and Barton's all right, but
Yeah.
apart from anyone else,
Chandler's
Well,
okay.
that's because
Yeah.
Barton's on your fantasy team.
That's
for a
exactly
while.
right. That's the only reason why I know
And he was
Barton.
flogging it, so
So next time, I reckon if we can come up with the West next season, where you think top 15, the whole Western Conference from 1 to 15, what order do you think it's going to be next year? By the time it comes to the playoffs next year, and
Can I chuck the Clippers 14th and?
You can do what you want, Nick. We'll read them out, see how we go next time. Actually, we've got a bit of time now. What do you guys think about it?
I don't know. We all have to agree that Warriors will be first.
yeah.
Warriors first.
Houston 2nd, I reckon.
You've got Houston, Spurs, Thunder, all in
Yeah.
about the same bracket. Maybe Jazz as well. You want to
If
order them
Hayward.
however you want.
If Hayward stays, yeah.
Again, we don't have free agency yet, so I think it's a bit difficult to talk about where they'll be. Because Lakers, right now, we were talking about them potentially being in that maybe 10 to 8 or that 12 to 8. But if they don't get anyone, they're 14th, 15th.
Just to be clear, were you talking about that or were you?
Oh, I was definitely talking about that.
I don't think anyone else was talking about
All right, LeVar.
it. He's going to be the new LeVar, the LeVar of the table. Any other rise or falls, do you reckon? Is there anyone really going to push?
I'm interested to
top
see.
two?
Well,
Minnesota.
yeah, I'm
Minnesota.
interested though. Spurs just. I know they do it every year.
Can
I know
they
they
do
do.
it again? Can they do it
Because they're not really adding anything, and
They don't, yeah.
are they losing anything?
Probably
Maybe
losing
not.
Tony Parker.
again?
Yeah,
it's-
so-
To be fair,
so
they
what-
don't have a lot.
So when
really.
you look at it like that, Spurs could fall, but then they're the Spurs.
And a
So
couple,
they're
a
top
couple of
two.
seasons ago, people saying, "Oh, what do they have?" And then they find this guy, Jonathan Simmons, and then
Exactly. So
Gasol's going to stay on a budget contract to sign more players. And it's just
you don't know what's going to happen, but Spurs are key in this because when you've got Rockets and Thunder signing all these guys, quality guys, makes it interesting.
Well, I think that's about it. I think we've covered pretty much everything in the West. I think we're just about done. On the next episode, we're going to be doing the same thing pretty much as we've done now, and just go through the Eastern Conference.
is it the Eastern Conference or the Leaston Conference?
Oh,
So some of your finest
bit of
work.
banter there, yeah.
I mean, because with Paul George leaving and
there's really no All-Stars.
Millsap's going from
But-
east to west. It's going to be. Are we going to be trying out for the Eastern All Stars next year?
I reckon we'll be in contention. I reckon. Well, that's something to talk about for next time. I reckon.
LeBron potentially moving west as well. Don't know where LeBron's going right now. He hasn't signed a contract,
Yeah.
so
That's true.
He's just flirting with the Cavs. He'll stay.
until he goes to the Lakers in 2018-19.
That's what Lakers.
Well, yeah.
That's what Lakers fans were saying in 2011. Give it a few years. They're like all Adelaide supporters. Just next year.
All right, I think we'll leave it there. I think we'll leave it there. Thanks for listening, and join us next time when we go through the East. Also, make sure to follow us on Twitter at NBJBpod for news and information about our next podcast. And on behalf of the guys, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.